Welcome to the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Show, where we talk about food, fashion, finance, and foundations of life. We are live on KCAA Radio Broadcasting Network, 1050 AM, 102.3 and 106.5 FM. KCAA is affiliated with CNBC, NBC News, and NBC Sports. We are sponsored by Sheltered Studios, Fire Up Connect, and Building Solid Foundation.
Welcome back to Fabulous Lifestyle Radio. This is Steve Matley, the finance host. Today we are talking about higher education. Specifically, we're talking about New School of Architecture and Design. And before we move into my next questions for our special guest, Dr. Christand Maxwell, I wanted to point out, I know this show may sound a little like an infomercial for New School of Architecture and Design, and it's really not. It's because, as you know, on past shows, we've talked about equine investing, using horses as an investment vehicle. We've talked about solar energy. We've talked about using Bitcoin to buy houses. We've talked about all kinds of different things. And because education is so close to my heart, this was a very important thing to me to talk to. And obviously I have a connection with the school, so it's easy to find someone to talk to about it. So this could apply. And if you're not interested in the typical programs that New School has, you should check out schools in your area and what interests you. Education, as I said, is a huge, huge component, whether that's trade school, whether that's ROP, whether that's apprenticeship programs, whether that's formal degree programs, whatever that is. Obviously, I have a heart for the built environment because I did very well as a contractor, a builder, and a developer. And I owe a lot of that to my formal education as well as my experience in the industry. And so I share that with other people. So I just want to throw that out there before we move on. Christand, I wanted to shift a little bit. We've talked about the school, and we've talked about some of what the services that's offered and some of the benefits. I want to get into who are the students? What do the students look like? And I know they're different from every kind of program. So I kind of want to go through the programs, and if you can, try to help us paint a picture of who are the type of students that might be interested in this. So let's start with, say, product design, because that's something I know very little about. I'm at the school, I know it exists, but honestly, if you pin me down and said, hey, Steve, I know the school you teach at has a product design, what's it all about? I wouldn't be able to answer that very well. So can you share with us, what is that program and who are the students that would be interested in that?
Well, product design is basically for those who are willing and wanting to explore multifaceted applications, those who want to design a product out in the industry. For example, we had an alumni who developed a set of golf clubs, which is now being sold at Costco. Anybody who's looking to take art, science, and technology and create innovative products.
All these people we see on Shark Tank, they might be interested in product design.
Absolutely. That's basically what our students look like.
Okay, fantastic. And then so let's move over to the interactive media and graphic design. Now, I think people know what graphic design is, or they think they do. It's drawing really cool pictures and logos and those things, but there's a lot more to it. And I know the program really emphasizes interactive media and graphic design as a part of it. So what does that do, and who are those students?
So those particular students are those who envision something on paper and then use like UX, UI type things on the computer and kind of build that together. Also, graphic designers work for marketing firms, but they really explore the principles, the technology, and the practice of producing graphic design solutions. So it's really very interactive with using technology.
Yeah, and I mentioned that I had hired one of the alums to design the logo for my company. And it wasn't just, I need a logo, can you come up with something? There was a huge, like a 3-page questionnaire I had to go through. What is our mission? What's our culture? Who are we reaching? What product do we deliver? What's the whole thing? What's our persona? We were kind of creating an avatar, really, of who we were, and that then informed, and I gave some suggestions of what I thought, and what came back was very different than what I thought was coming back, but 1,000% better than anything I could have envisioned. So there's a lot to it that's more than just let me draw you a pretty picture. Okay.
Right. They do a lot of research about the companies that they work for, and they talk to graphic designers. Will talk to people in the work environment, and just kind of collectively put all that together and produce something that's really fantastic.
Oh yeah, it goes into the color selection and the shapes and the geometry of it that are going to emotionally resonate with the target person that it's supposed to reach, and there's a whole psychology behind it. So then let's go move on to the interior. Now, people know interior design, but New School of Architecture Design, it's really interior architecture and design, which is a little bit different. Can you explain what that is and who those students are and how that differentiates from, say, just an architecture student?
So they basically are innovative thinkers who push the boundaries, I think, within the interior world. But they're innovative. They do a lot of concept development. They're liaisons, and so they're, putting their thoughts and designing, something that will work with the scope of the space that's given. So, there's a lot behind it.
Yeah, and that's really a user experience focused as opposed to the form of the building or what kind of materials and structure are we going to have. It's really based on what do the person's five senses that are in this space, what are they feeling, what are they seeing, what are they hearing, what's your mental condition? Is it something that's supposed to give you energy? Is it something that's supposed to relax you? Is it something that's supposed to engender creativity? And I find that to be very fascinating as well. Certainly beyond my pay grade to understand, but I do have some experience working with interior designers, and I find that the trend now to a lot of places is actually designing buildings inside out now, starting from the inside and then moving to the structure, where that's kind of backwards from what it always was traditionally. Yeah. Architecture. I think most people think they know what architecture is. I don't know that they really do. I thought I knew what architecture was until I started really working closely with architectural design teams in my career and found out that a lot of my assumptions were wrong. They're not what we see. They're not Mike Brady on the Brady Bunch. They're not what we see on TV and movies, or the Ted character in How I Met Your Mother. There's a little more to it. Explain what kind of architecture is, what people can do with it, and who those students are.
So the architecture is really, and I know you've worked with some, but I feel from what I've learned so far is that they are working in an urban laboratory. They research problems that are, that the society and the environment is facing currently, and they design something that hopefully will be ever changing. Ecologically, environmentally, and so that's basically what our architectures do.
Okay, and then of course the construction management, that's something that I'm more familiar with. So what do those students look like? And to me, construction management's a little different than the other programs because it's not really a design-based program. It's more of an implementation-based. But tell your take on who those students are and what that's about.
Well, from my understanding is, and again, you're the professional in this area, but, they work with the designers, the developers, the architects, and, they really kind of put all of that together. So they're the ones who kind of like start the foundation for everything, but they are collaborative with working with different individuals.
Right. And I try to explain to people that a true construction manager is like an orchestra leader. So they don't design, engineer, or really build anything. They are the orchestra leader, meaning they don't play the instruments, but they have to be able to read the music and make sure that all the experts at each instrument knows how to play their part and that they all play together. And that's really what they're doing is getting the collaboration, everybody work together. And if that works well, it's beautiful music, and it doesn't, it's a complete disaster. I will say, one thing I like about the built environment, everything that, the buildings themselves, so interior architecture, and construction management, is every culture and society and history that we know about, we know because of what's left of their architecture. There's some art left over, but a lot of it's the architecture. It's the Machu Picchu ruins. It's the Parthenon. It's the Pantheon. It's the Colosseum. It's it's the Aztec pyramids, it's the Egyptian pyramids. That's how we know the different cultures. And so when you're part of that, you are creating the legacy and the signature stamp for your culture at that point in time. And I think that's huge. I've always found that to be very gratifying, that when people ask, what do? I could go to Google Earth and bring up building after building after building after building and say, yeah, I worked on that, I worked on that, I worked on that. And to me, it's very gratifying to know that there's something tangible out there that I was involved in. So thank you for the insight on who the students are and what the programs are. And last thing is the location of the campus. What is unique about the location of the campus, and what are the benefits?
Well, I think we're in, like you said, in a developing area that, in the East Village, we're right along the trolley line, so we're accessible. And the structures down there even are nice to look at, too, as well. I think being in the downtown San Diego area, everything is very communal, and it's walking, there's walking things to go to and stuff like that. So just being in that hub area is great.
It's a high energy location. And so when we do student competitions, and one of the leaders of one of the other major state college teams, he told me once, he said, what's different about you guys is you have architects and interior designers on your team, which makes a more well-rounded team for doing, like, say, design build competitions. And he said, we have architects, but they're in another building on the other side of campus, and we don't really talk to them. That's a whole different department. It's, so there's kind of like little different kingdoms on a big, large campus. Our school, those students are sitting together in classes. They take all their integrated studies or general education classes together. They take minors in the other disciplines. And so there's a lot of crossover and collaboration, and that has shown itself. And again, when we go student competitions, we are not a name brand university like most of them we're up against, and yet we've always done very, very well against them in multiple competitions. One thing I want to say about the location is, as you mentioned, I liked your term urban lab. I always said we teach in a laboratory because we are in downtown in a growing, vibrant, energetic city and one of the hottest neighborhoods in the city. And so I've done classes where we've done little mini field trips with the class. We just get up and walk around outside. Let's go take a walk. And we'll take maybe a 10-block loop, and we look at old stuff, and we look at new stuff, and we look at things that are under construction, and we discuss the materials. We discuss what the purpose is. We discuss who put it there, why it's there, and we do site visits. There's a project that opened up during the pandemic, actually, that's catty corner from the school, and that is a 30-story project, and we did field trips to that project every single term for the 2 years that it was under construction for the whole process. And it's great to have that right next door to the school. So, Dr. Christand, is there anything you want to say to potential students out there? Anybody listening that's maybe scratching their head right now and thinking, I may be thinking about this whole thing. What would you want to share with them?
Well, I think we talked about a lot today, but I definitely would recommend students who are interested in this industry, whether it be interior products, construction management, and architecture, I think the best thing would be, attend one of our info sessions, come on down to the school, take a visit. Our faculty are always there to, give some explanation of the field. It's an open environment, which is, fantastic. And we have a lot of stuff posted on our website of things that we've done for the city and so on. So, if you're scratching your head thinking about it's time to, do something different, the best way is to come on down and talk with us and take a tour of the school and the location.
And it's a nice, quirky little building, too. So there's a collection of buildings that create the campus, and its past life, it was a produce market, it was a sweatshop for a textile company, it was a distribution hub, an office. It was a lot of different things there, and all that's been converted into serving the programs we do, primarily architecture, but then the ancillary programs around it. And it's got a really great kind of hipster, energetic feel to it. It's fantastic. And the last thing I want to throw in there is it's called New School of Architecture and Design because the thinking is new school, but the school's been around for 40 years, and it has a long history of successful graduates going in the industry. Dr. Christand, we're almost out of time here. I want to thank you so much for being part of the show and giving us your time and sharing your insights on what is a very fascinating option for a career. Thank you very much for being on the show. And
thank you.
if any students have any questions, remember, newschoolarch.edu, newschoolarch, newschoolarch.edu, or visit the school. It's at 1249 F Street in downtown San Diego. Just give a quick call or just stop by. If you stop by and just buzz the front door, they'll let you in and say, hey, I'm interested in looking around. And we'd be happy to accommodate you. So thank you, Dr. Christand. We're going to go to break. When I come back, we're going to talk about a little bit of end-of-year planning for what you're going to do next year. This is Steve Matley, your host of Fabulous Lifestyle Radio, and we'll be right back.
Welcome to the Fabulous Lifestyle Radio Show, where we talk about food, fashion, finance, and foundations of life. We are live on KCAA Radio Broadcasting Network, 1050 AM, 102.3 and 106.5 FM. KCAA is affiliated with CNBC, NBC News, and NBC Sports. We are sponsored by Sheltered Studios, Fire Connect, and Building Solid Foundation.